Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome to Rolling Intentions. My name is Jason. Today, actually, we have some special guests.
The crew from Standard Action.
And now, I wasn't really sure. Are you guys like the actors and the producers and everything, or?
I'm not an actor. I'm a director. I do a lot of the tech stuff. I was cameraman, but we have wonderful camera people who help us now.
And what's your name?
I'm Rob Hunt.
There you go.
A man of mystery.
And I'm Joanna Gaskell, and I am one of the actors in the show. I play Edda, the elf barbarian, but I'm also the writer and the producer, and I do a bunch of other stuff too. I make sandwiches.
She helps with the editing.
Yeah.
What kind of sandwiches?
Hey, anything you want, really.
She actually makes a massive amount of supplies that people then make sandwiches with on the day.
Yeah, I'm actually, my sandwiches are really one of the highlights of the shoot day now.
Proto sandwiches, actually.
Yeah. I think people just come for the sandwiches now. I don't even think they come for the show, really.
Have you guys been friends before this, or?
Well, Rob and I have been dating for about 7 years.
I don't know if that counts as friends.
I don't think, yeah. We've done a few film projects together before Standard Action. Rob produced his own feature films, actually.
Yeah, I'm a programmer by day and a web designer and developer. So filmmaking's always just sort of been a fun side thing for me. I used to be into theater a lot when I was younger, but I kind of wanted to, pay rent and afford food. So programming is what I do, but I've written, directed, and produced 2 feature films. And after that, I was like, wow, this is a lot of work. I need some help. And Joanna is an actress and has a master's degree in it, so she's like classically trained. And so, yeah, she started helping with the producing and the writing. The producing's like the lame work and the writing's like the awesome work. So
yeah,
it was
balance
a trade-off.
Okay, cool. So what kind of RPGs did you guys play?
Well, RPG-wise, in some of the people that I've met and that I've talked to, I really haven't been playing role-playing games for as long as a lot of people. I've probably been playing for about, 7 or 8 years, and I started with Dungeons & Dragons 3.5, so I was definitely a 3.5 player, and played that for a while. We've moved a little bit more into Pathfinder now. That's really exciting. I'm a huge fan of that. I'm also a really big fan of the Privateer Press Iron Kingdoms setting. Okay. I haven't tried the new Iron Kingdoms RPG yet, but I just bought the book at PAX Prime last PAX Prime. I bought it, and I'm super excited to try and play it. I love the world, and I hear that the system is really interesting and different, and they've adapted it a lot better to their world than the old sort of 3.5 system that they were using. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of excited to try that. What about other RPGs? Well, I've tried a couple of indies. You were mentioning that you played Apocalypse World tonight. Yes. We did play a game of Apocalypse World a little while ago, so I've done a couple little indie things. Kind of excited to try Dungeon World, actually, which is like Apocalypse World only in like the fantasy dungeon setting. That's
we played the Cthulhu D20.
Oh, that's true too, yeah.
It was really good, mostly because it's Cthulhu. I played for D&D a few years before I met Joanna, but I have played video games since I could install them in DOS. I've played a lot of the old ones. I just gotten into World of Warcraft when I met Joanna, so I managed to con her into playing that. So we've played a lot of the online content. Joanna's just picked up a second copy of Skyrim yesterday because we lost our first one.
Oh, it's tragic.
Yeah, so we had to keep playing it. So.
Do you guys been playing Borderlands or anything?
Borderlands 2. My buddy picked it up last weekend. We just finished editing a lot of Standard Action, and to celebrate, a friend showed up with some beer and Halo 4, and we beat that in one day and drove down to Future Shop and bought Borderlands 2, and I gotta pick that up so that we can play it together, when he's at his house, because that's awesome.
Yeah.
I miss Claptrap.
All right, cool. So I guess, you guys have a bit of history there with regards to role-playing. So what is your, most memorable moment or during a session, or perhaps the funniest moment that happened?
I have a good one, actually. A little backstory, Joanna and I, we moved to England, London, England for a year because she was getting a master's degree in acting from an acting school there. And we found a D&D club that played in a pub every Saturday. So we played every Saturday at this pub playing D&D with all these English people and other people from all over the world. And we played for like a year and a half there. And one of the campaigns was a Ravenloft campaign in 3.5. And Joanna was a barbarian, I believe, and I was a bard, a human bard. And we were just finished like boot kicking one of Strad the vampire's minions, and my bard was going off on Intimidate, like, yeah, what are you gonna do, huh? Your boss is gonna come in here and teach us something? We chased him off, and at that point Strad walked in the room and fireballed my bard to death.
And then the story doesn't end there.
And then we won the game, and that campaign was over, but we decided that our characters would have paid to reincarnate half the party that had died fighting Strad. And so we did that, and we rolled all of the rolls to see what species they came back with, and all three of them, including my bard, Ronaldo, came back as gnomes. So we figured it must have been a gnomish druid, and don't ever trust gnomish druids for reincarnation.
Probably one of my funniest stories. I was actually running a game, and it had been a game that had gone on for a long time, and it was my own world. Like, I built the world and the Pantheon and the alignment system. It was 3.5, but I made the alignment system really strict. So if you were going to be good, then, you had to really be good. Like, and if you were a paladin, you could fall really, really easily in this alignment system that I built. So, of course, we had a paladin playing, and I kept presenting him with these, opportunities to fall. Been like, just slip it in there, and he passed every single one of them. He was doing incredibly well. He got through all this stuff, and then one day, I had just this sort of random encounter, like not even, it was two lizard men who were emptying out an old ruin. They had gone into this ruin and they'd found all this treasure, and they were just carrying the treasure away out of this ruin. And my party were walking along, minding their own business, and they saw these two lizard men, and this paladin runs up to them and just cuts them down. And I believe as the paladin was running up to them, the lizard man saw him, dropped the treasure chest, and turned and ran, and he cut them down as they ran away. So it's like all those opportunities to fall, which he passed, and then he fell hard,
all
killing
he needed was something to run like a wounded animal with treasure.
Wow.
That was great. I enjoyed that.
So, what did you choose the name Standard Action for the name of the web series?
Well, actually, we went through a couple different names before we settled on Standard Action. 3.5 was one of the titles that I'd gone with because it was sort of based on D&D 3.5, and we had 3 full-size characters and a halfling. So it was going to be 3.5. But the URL was taken for that. So, and then I came up with some other ones. One of them was called the After Party.
Yeah.
Because it was supposed to be like these guys were the people who were left out of the party. So they were called the After Party. But that didn't really fit. It felt a little bit too trendy.
Yeah, we were worried people would come expecting like rave stuff.
Yeah. So Standard Action was nice in that, of course, obviously it harkens back to D&D. So anybody who's ever played a role-playing game or Dungeons & Dragons is going to recognize Standard Action. And also it's sort of exactly what our party is. I mean, they are not exceptional. They are not, there's nothing huge and heroic about this party. They are standard. They get by, they do the basics, and they live most of the time. But it seemed to fit quite nicely.
So you guys are like looking towards your 3rd season, is that right?
Yeah, our 2nd season is almost finished being released online. We're still got a little bit left to do for season 2, but season 1 is up and it's been up for a while. And yeah, we're looking forward to fundraising for season 3 really, really soon.
Sweet. So what sort of role-playing games were inspired you to create a web series?
Well, one of the things, like, the people ask us that a lot, and the thing is that Standard Action was originally, like, when I first started writing it way back, it was really full of a lot of really direct D&D references. Like, there were a lot more references to, like, ability scores and skill checks and hit points and leveling and that kind of thing. And you still see a little bit of that in the show as it is now. But I started out with that a lot more. And Rob actually came to me in the sort of first few drafts of the original scripts and was like, maybe we should pull back a little bit on this because we don't want to alienate people too much. And then we sort of decided that maybe we should, instead of just being a D&D series, we'll basically open it up. So we try to appeal to sort of everybody.
Also, me and Edwin had been watching, Edwin plays the bard Fernando and was helping us with costumes. We've been watching all the Lord of the Rings behind the scenes content. And they talked a lot about how Tolkien, he wrote his books. He didn't write religion into it. There's no subtext for Jesus Christ and stuff like that. He made it very accessible. And so we were all on this, making things accessible kick. And now we're like, let's make it accessible to, MMO players and other things like that. So. But
it is true. I mean, once it started rolling, and once we started writing it and filming it and getting it up, it started really being inspired by a huge amount of different kinds of nerd culture. So if you watch it, you can see your MMO inspirations in there. You
Doctor
can see the Doctor Who and the Star Wars and the Star Trek and the Tolkien and the Magic the Gathering and just basic first person shooter stuff, and there's everything. It's just packed in there. And one of the reasons for that is that them living in this world, in this sort of game style world, it's basically, this is a show for fans. So anybody who's ever had a fandom, anybody who's ever been a really big supporter of a niche show or a nerd show or whatever is probably going to find something in Standard Action for them.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about it? I mean, probably some character background or whatnot of the actual show itself.
Okay, well, it starts out, right at the beginning, our basic tagline for the show is it is a fantasy comedy web series for geeks of all kinds. And what happens is there's a sorcerer and a bard, and they find themselves beaten up, tied up, and left behind in a hobgoblin camp, and the rest of their party has disappeared. So they have no gear, and they have no money, and they have no spells left, and they're exhausted, and they are chased out of camp by a hobgoblin, and so they're forced to go into the nearest town and find a new party to go off and look for their party members.
Along the way, the sorcerer starts to realize the bard Fernando is a few fries short of a Happy Meal.
I think she probably already knew that, but yeah. So they find, instead of being able, because they don't have any money, right? So instead of being able to actually afford a fighter and a cleric, they go into town and they find a disappointingly tiny elf barbarian to be their tank and a emo hipster druid to be their healer, and he refuses to heal. So they head out into the woods and start looking for their lost party. And it's basically just sort of the story of this really dysfunctional, low-level adventuring party who's gone out into the woods and is trying their best to quest and to get this quest finished, this adventure done. And they really quickly find themselves in over their heads. And then we start to realize that there's more going on than just that. So we've got some big, powerful bad guys who have some evil designs for the area and for the party. And in season 2, we get to see a little bit more of that, how things start to get a little bit more serious. The party levels up a bit, but things just get more and more hectic. And I won't give any spoilers, but it starts to get pretty chaotic by the end of season 2.
So was there anything you want to tell us about your Kickstarter campaign, or if you have any ideas or awards you're offering?
Yeah, we have some really cool stuff going on, actually. We've put a lot of planning into the Kickstarter to make it as interesting as possible, mostly because we donate to, me and Joanna have donated to a number of Kickstarters, and some obviously, were much more interesting than others. So one of the things we're going to be doing is, even on the basic stuff, donors at certain levels will be able to have a walk-on role in season 3. We have a card game that we've developed that should be fun. It's like a party building adventuring card game. And we'll have digital print and play copies that you'll have PDFs you could take to your local print shop, or there'll be hard copies at higher levels. We have a bunch of digital content that's going to come out, and the great thing about that is I donated to the Reaper Bones Kickstarter recently.
Oh, yes, I've seen that.
Yeah, and I really liked the vampire level, the $100 level, where basically it was like the more stretch goals they reached, the more you got at the $100 level. And we're not doing a $100 level. I think ours is the $25 level, but we're going to have things like, if we reach certain stretch goals, we'll like be making up, we'll have like scripts written that people will get copies of, or adventures. There'll be like D&D modules. There'll be a lot of very exciting stretch goals that will sort of create this, bonanza attitude.
Yeah, that's sort of a big thing for us, is that not only do we offer sort of really interesting perks if you just donate. I mean, DVDs and like Rob was saying, D&D supplements and character sheets and music and all sorts of stuff. But also, as soon as we start hitting those stretch goals, everybody who's already donated starts getting more. So if you can invite your friends to come and give $10 or $25, all of a sudden you start getting extra stuff as we keep going. So the plan is that, we'll basically be able to make season 3, however many episodes we can do in season 3 is going to depend very much on how much money we get out of this Kickstarter. So obviously we're going to encourage people to come back and to tell their friends and to help us out. We've also got a really interesting sort of contest that's running alongside our Kickstarter, which we're calling the Choose Your Champion contest. And the reason for this is that season 3 isn't actually written yet. I mean, I have an idea I know where it's going. Like, I know the story arc, and I know how things are going to play out. But there are certainly a few different avenues that I could take for the end of it. And what I'm getting people to do is, anybody who gives money to the Kickstarter gets a vote for every $10 that they can spend on their favorite character. So you can vote for, Martin the Druid or Fernando the Bard or whatever as your favorite character. And the character that gets the most votes, that's going to help me determine how the season 3 is going to end. Interesting.
So, I was thinking about the D&D modules you guys were mentioning. Who will be writing those up?
We were really lucky, actually. Last year at PaizoCon, we got this guy Kevin Mickelson. He was making the Mask of Death module for the gamers.
The gamers, yeah.
Yeah, and he's this really awesome guy, and we were chatting about things. He's like, do you guys want to help me playtest some of it? Because he was still working on it at that point. And I was like, yeah, hell yeah. So, me and Joanna and Edwin, who plays Fernando, and a few other people, we playtested some of this module with him, and it was hilarious. We laughed so hard, and we had so much fun. And, we were talking about it later, and he watched our stuff, and he was like, yeah, I really like your stuff. If you ever want anybody to write module, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So yeah, we talked to him because, we played his stuff, and it was really funny, and it just, it seemed like a really good deal.
Yeah, so he's going to be doing, we've actually got 2 modules planned as part of our stretch goals, and if we don't make it to these stretch goals, I still want these modules to happen eventually. It will just take a lot longer. So hopefully down the road they'll happen. But yeah, we've got 2 modules planned. One of them is the adventures of the team between season 1 and season 2. And the other one is the adventures of the team between season 2 and season 3. So we're very, very excited for those. I think that's going to be a real highlight of the stuff that we're bringing out. I mean, as Standard Action is its own world now, we're doing a huge amount of different stuff with it. Like Rob was mentioning, the card game. We've also got a web comic coming out. All that kind of really interesting stuff to make the world bigger and more interesting. And I'm very excited about the Pathfinder modules. They're Pathfinder, by the way.
Dungeon roll, eh?
If somebody approached us who wanted to do it.
We have some other stuff coming out. There'll be some smaller things, like I think one of our friends, Eric Fell, who actually was the merchant in our second season, he's going to be making like an Adventure Seed PDF, which will have the Lonely Dragon, so that, DMs can add the Lonely Dragon Tavern and some of the crazy occupants of that tavern into their game really easily.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, we play a lot of D&D, and we ran games with pre-generated Edda, Martin, and Wendy characters. We've run those at different conventions, so we might put our notes down and create PDFs out of those little adventures.
So, was there anybody else in the gaming community you guys got inspired by? Like anybody else that you met that sort of helped you along the way as well, or?
Well, I mean, for sure, when we were just starting out, like when we just made our very first episode, which was episode 0 back then, that was in late 2010, one of the big, one of the people we certainly admired in sort of the nerd entertainment community was the Dead Gentlemen and the guys who made Journey Quest and Gamers movies out of Seattle. They're fantastic people. And at that point, actually, we made the beginning of Standard Action. We didn't even know that Journey Quest existed. And
we almost didn't make any more.
Oh, no.
We almost stopped making Standard Action. We were like, oh, dear,
yeah,
okay.
we just sat down and watched, the first 2 episodes that were out at that point, and there was, a long silence, and,
these guys are really good.
This is pretty good. And these are the guys that made the Gamers movies.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's cool because it turned out that, we've become friends with them and we've met them and we've worked with them. And when we brought on, Brian Lewis, who's one of their actors, to play, one of our characters in season 2, he plays a spoon. And I've gone down to Seattle and I'm a part of Gamers 3, which is a movie that's coming out this year.
We got to go to ZoeCon.
Yeah, so we've actually become quite good friends with them, which is fantastic because they are really inspirational just in terms of how they run their series and how they put out their stuff and the fact that it's all Creative Commons and how much fan support they have, and they've really created a world for themselves down there, which is it's so cool.
And they're really nice.
Yeah.
Cool. So what was the biggest obstacle with your project thus far?
The biggest obstacle? Well, I don't know. I mean, the biggest challenge. I mean, I would say the biggest challenge.
Sure, challenge.
That I would say I have come to realize that as a part of this project is the time involved, actually. I think that when we first got started, we didn't plan on this being a real web series with a fan following and all that kind of thing. I mean, we just were doing it for fun and for ourselves and because we liked it and we wanted to see if we could, right? So we did it, put it out, people liked it, and all of a sudden it grew into this really amazing thing. And it's like when you start out, you have no idea how much time it's going to take to make it happen. And it's time worth spending. Like, I love it, and I don't regret any of it, and I do it again, of course. But it's one of those things where all of a sudden, 2 years of your life have disappeared, and you're like, wow, where did it go? Like, if anybody out there listening wants to make a web series, realize that you will have no free time, ever. There will be none. None at all. What do you think, Rob? What's your biggest challenge? Obstacle?
I believe getting one of our biggest challenges is we don't do this with a budget. We have we do this with our own money, and it's really getting past the mindset of doing things like the quote unquote professionals do. I was lucky enough to work as an extra on a bunch of different shows that film in Vancouver. I was an extra for about almost a year. And it was really great because I got to see all these amazing crews on the shows like Eureka and Psych and just a bunch of others. And there's really amazing. And but there's 100 people involved in shooting, and then there's us with 8 people. So just getting past the idea.
But that's good. That's the thing. That works for us.
But just getting past the mindset that this is what we need, and really starting to be more creative about what we shoot and the storytelling. We can't really show a lot of action, so we do a lot. That's why we're a comedy, is because doing action is expensive and hard. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
it's certainly working with a budget for sure, and not getting swept away in what you think it should be like. When we did an Indiegogo fundraiser for our second season. And so our first season was entirely self-funded. So it was just money that we'd poured into it, and it had been a lot of money that we'd poured into it. And second season, we got a little bit of help from the fans, which was fantastic. We ran a fundraiser and got a chunk of money, which got us started. But because we got that chunk of money off the top, we fell into a little bit of that mindset, which was oh, we got some money now. We have a little bit of cash. Great. We can do this, and we can do this, and we can do this differently. And it's really easy to get swept away in the fact that you have a little bit of extra money. And you have to sort of keep reminding yourself that everything costs a huge amount. As soon as you start thinking on a larger scale, you end up just getting, all your money just gets sucked away. You have to really, really be careful with budgeting. and not get overly excited when all of a sudden somebody hands you a few $1,000s. You can't get excited about it. You have to just like make it go as far as possible. With the budget that we have and the demands in terms of flexibility and scheduling and that kind of thing, our story changes all the time. I think I wrote second season 5 or 6 times before we ended up with the story that you see, just because we had to. I mean, we'd lose an actor for a shoot day, which I was expecting, or we'd have to change a location, or we had this plan which didn't work out.
Or there'd be paintballers where we were going to shoot.
Yeah, sure.
No way.
Yeah, exactly. You have to change on the fly. I mean, when you're independent, low budget, you got to change. You got to not be married to any plan ever.
Yeah, we found writing scripts too far ahead of time actually tended to shoot us in the foot, because we would then be like trying to do this thing, and then new opportunities or new locations would have opened up, and if we hadn't been married to the script concept we wanted to shoot, we would have just been able to use those a lot better.
So you guys were role-playing the actual scenes then?
We should be.
Well, it's actually very much like DMing. So all of a sudden, if your party takes you in an entirely different direction that you didn't expect, it's like, oh, okay.
I better rewrite that module.
Yeah, I guess maybe I'll put this here now. Yeah.
Awesome, cool. So do you guys have any other projects that you're thinking of doing in the future?
Well, another project we're doing concurrently right now is actually a series of board game video reviews called Starlit Citadel Reviews.
Really?
And that's done just with me and Joanna and a girl, Kaya, who is the assistant manager at an online board game store called Starlit Citadel. And we've got like 70 plus episodes out now.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And yeah, they're about 5 to 10 minutes long, and they're a review with like some overview of the rules. We also have we get the games with the reviews now, so we have a giant pile of board games. But yeah, that's one of our other web series, and I mean, it's got 70 plus episodes out, so if there's a board game you're thinking of getting, you can probably find one of our reviews on YouTube.
There's also, I'm currently also doing an improv show, which is something other than web series, but it's a D&D improv show that we do the last Wednesday of every month here at a theater in Vancouver. It's called the Critical Hit Show.
And she plays Edda. She actually takes her character from Standard Action there.
Yeah, I play Edda in it, which is really fun. And it's actually becoming incredibly popular. I had no idea how much people would love watching other people play D&D on stage. It's pretty cool.
There was a show, Places to Go in Vancouver. Now, I don't know if it was on TV, maybe it was a web series, and I think Critical Hit was actually, I don't remember the name of the show, but I remember seeing something in regards for the Critical Hit show, because they were talking about people dressing up in costumes, reenacting D&D scenes, and then in a pub area on a stage or something.
Oh man, yeah, totally. Okay, well that's great. I'm glad it's getting media attention.
It's in an indie movie theater that recently got licenses to serve alcohol.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's pretty amazing because it's kind of like that old show, Whose Line Is It Anyway? Like, it's very improv, and it is sort of like a game show. Like, the guy who runs it, Eric Bell, is trying to kill the players, so.
Cool.
We've also got potentially an interesting, very low-budget comedy sci-fi show that we've got planned. That's coming up. It's still very much in the planning stages, but that's one that we might be approaching soon.
And that'll be with the guy, Eric Fell, who was a merchant in second season and is running the Critical Hit show. He's got a concept that we're working with him to try and make happen. Mm-hmm. I'm also making a series, it's very short, it's called The Pyrenees Chronicles, with another friend of mine, Darren Andrzejczyk, and we're going to be launching the second episode of that in a few weeks. And that's sort of like Littlest Hobo meets Highway to Heaven, sort of like, kind of demons and angels, and yeah, it's kind of out there and weird, but it's cool. It's different. It's not a comedy.
Yeah, so we're always doing lots of stuff, basically.
Yeah, you guys got a lot of stuff going on there. So that the board gaming review, is that a podcast or is that like another web series?
That's a full web series. Yeah, it's video. Like if you go to YouTube and look for Starlit Citadel.
Yeah, you'll find it. There's loads.
So, I just did an interview with Jason Pitt not too long ago. Like, he's a game developer for a game called Spark. He's also Canadian. And he's been telling me that there was a bit of an issue with getting Canadians on Kickstarter.
Yeah, there's a huge issue with it, actually. It's still an issue. It hasn't been, Kickstarter is not open to having anybody on who doesn't have either an American or a UK bank account. And that was the reason why we did Indiegogo for season 2, is because Indiegogo is basically Kickstarter for Canadians. Mm-hmm. This year, we are teaming up with a couple of guys in a company called Gamerati, which is Ed and Kyle from Gamerati. Gamerati is basically an advertising company, so they advertise on a whole lot of different gaming websites and podcasts and that kind of thing. And
they help with Kickstarters.
And they help with Kickstarter. So since we're teaming up with them and they're an American company, we are able to run a Kickstarter, which is huge for us, really, because I mean, Indiegogo is amazing. It's fantastic, and it was there for us in second season, and that's great. However, Kickstarter has just so much more international visibility. It has so many more people in it. It has so much more money in it. So there's it's a much bigger chance of hitting your goal and getting the funding that you need if you're able to go through Kickstarter. So we're very, very grateful and very lucky this year.
It also has better features. Kickstarter actually allows you to have more perks.
Yeah.
And things like that. We were having a real tough time with Indiegogo because we really wanted to be able to offer things like, have a role in the show, but then of course that's only interesting to people who can get to Vancouver. So, we'll be offering perks at a similar level, but that, you maybe get to do something else, or we send you a board game and, then suddenly it's really tough.
Caps out at like a dozen perks, which is really hard. I mean, it's difficult to cap yourself out there.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
And it's also, Kickstarter also makes it very easy for you to communicate with the people who have given to you. Like the whole sort of update system and mail out system is much easier. It's much more streamlined through Kickstarter. Also, it's much easier to upgrade your perk level. So you can very easily go back in and upgrade if you want to. If you see another perk that comes up that you really want, you can go in there and very easily upgrade. Whereas in Indiegogo, you had to actually give again with a brand new transaction, and people just don't like doing that.
Yeah, we had a lot of people in our first year upgrading their perks, and we gave them the upgraded perk level, even though it didn't show up on Indiegogo. So and that would be a great thing, because, then there were some people that if they donated as much this time as they did last time, they would have they'd get a walk-on on the show, or they'd get a bunch of stuff, and it'd just be really much easier to track.
Yeah, it just ends up being a lot less bookkeeping for us if we can go through Kickstarter, for sure.
With your web series itself, how many seasons are you thinking about having?
The actual storyline right now that sort of exists, that we're running through right now in season 1 and season 2, is planning on coming to a close at the end of season 3. So it should be a 3-season arc, the story that we're in right now.
But if we fund 10 full episodes for season 3, then, we would totally be looking at something like season 4 might start out, 6 months after season 3 ended, and, might be just a little bit different, or, hopefully look better. Like maybe we'll have a set for a tavern by then.
Yeah, so I mean, whether we keep going past season 3 is definitely going to depend on how much support we get. I mean, if all of a sudden, people come forward and really support us on season 3, and we're made aware that there's a really supportive audience out there that wants to keep seeing more stuff, then yeah, for sure, we'll keep making stuff. There's basically there's a treatment written for an Edda feature film backstory that's out there. That's a possibility. I mean, there's just, like Rob was saying, starting season 4 out with a new story. That's another possibility. We've created a world now. So there's a huge amount of different places we could go with it, which we're definitely willing to do if the support is there, for sure.
Cool. All right. Oh, by the way, who else is in the cast? Because I didn't really catch everybody.
Sure, yeah. Well, I mean, the cast, so that's me, I play Edda, and then Tara Pratt plays Wendy, Edwin Perez plays Fernando the Bard, and Daniel Johnston plays Martin the Druid. That's sort of our 4 main lead cast. Mm-hmm. And then obviously we've got, some people who pop up from time to time who keep coming back. We've got probably a core crew of about, six people on top of those 4 cast. So Rob does a lot of everything. But then of course we've got sort of Ashley, who's our key makeup artist and key hair, Vanessa, who's our main costume designer, Carla is our art director, Jennifer Lysing, she's our camera, Kirsten is doing sound this year. So we've got sort of a really small core group of people who are fantastic and do a lot.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks, guys, very much, and hopefully I'll be able to talk to you guys again sometime.
Yeah, I
for
hope
sure.
so.
Well, take care and have yourself a good day, and hopefully everything works out with this Kickstarter.
I hope so too. Thank you.
Hooray! Bye-bye.